Hey, welcome into this GASOCast, episode 24. We just had an amazing weekend with the GASO Fall Classic and Link Camp. Other than that, what you been doing? Blue?
Playing fantasy football. I was
Playing.
playing, maneuvering. Yeah. It's real football, despite what everybody says.
Yeah.
That's great.
My 16-team league that I've never been a part before. Highest point getter. Hope I never have to dip into my bench, though.
That a boy.
No bye weeks.
Yeah. I hope you get a sticker. But yeah, I think that's the same for all of us. Been in the gym, but at the same time been keeping up with college football. Obviously, had one eye on the Texas-Bama Instant Classic on Saturday, and then obviously the Cowboys-related depression has set in. It's going to be another long year, but
no Jerry Jones promise is not going to be.
Thoughts and prayers are accepted at this time.
Cooper Rush, baby.
I'm going to Colorado tomorrow. I'm fired up.
See, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Tomorrow?
Are you playing Colorado tomorrow?
No, I'm just going. I am playing golf, though.
Yeah, I think with our staff this weekend for us, we had GASO Fall Classic and Link Camp on the start of NFL football and some big Saturday football games. So all of us get a chance this weekend to be off and actually enjoy kind of this transition into fall with different sports and things like that. So not so much what I've been doing, because we'll talk about that heck of a weekend, but what I'm looking forward to this weekend is just doing nothing and watching football. So
42 days until practice. This is going to be a tradition.
Yep.
It's kind of fun. Link Camp was a success. We've got one more in San Antonio coming up on the 25th. We're going to do a segment a little later, drop it on Twitter, but we were very pleased with the turnout, the coaching, the players, just the intensity of it all. So really cool. We've got very limited spots for San Antonio, so if you're interested, go ahead and get signed up. There'll be a link in the description. Fun one. We were trending this weekend.
yeah.
Yeah.
Man, we had a lot going on. Texas, Bama, rip Queen Elizabeth. I don't know how kosher it is to kind of go there, but and then hashtag GASO, which was kind of cool. I can think of one other time when we were trending, and that was on the state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good basketball in September, man. That's what happens.
And we back.
And we back.
Moving on, signings and commitments. Caden Punt this morning to Central Oklahoma. Jace Posey, I think it was Friday night, committed to TCU. Staying in Texas for Jace, and then Caden Punt, really, really good player.
Yeah, I think with Jace, especially, like, he could have very easily been one of those kids in a few years where, like, how do we let him leave Texas? And there's a kid that we got staying in the state. So 2 good commitments there.
All right, let's jump right into players, or actually teams. This segment, what team did you just enjoy? You know, we're basketball fans over here at the. That's the reason we got into this. And sometimes it's fun to just maybe put a headphone in or go to where no one else is standing and just enjoy the game. So who's a team that did that for you this weekend?
So I'll start. Mine was actually a game. So last week I talked about how Byron Nelson and Kimball 9 a.m. start was going to be a possible YouTube game for me. And, you know, I'll admit 9 a.m., the first game of a scrimmage where a lot of these teams haven't played that much fall ball, I didn't know what to expect. But the stars kind of stood out. Finley Bizjack went crazy in the first half. Tijon Brown's second half, like, you can just see the floor general just kind of turn on in that second half, and he played in his pace, and Kimball ended up coming back and winning that game. So just like a lot of things, I saw these teams and these players grow. Players started to trust each other, and that's why we have our GASO platform for these teams and these coaches to figure things out. So fun game, doing really well on YouTube. Shout out to y'all for watching it, but a really high-level basketball game, not only early on in the day, but early on in the fall. So credit to both of those teams, and both of those teams have a lot of pieces that I really like.
Yep. Both those teams had a very nice complimentary piece to the guys that you talked about with Ducannon Wickware really doing a great job, just bouncing all over the place, being active, and then Connor Lindsay, another guy that played really well for Byron Nelson.
Yeah, he did.
The team that stood out the most to me in my mind was Mansfield Summit. And, man, these guys, they've got athletes at every position. They really do a great job of moving the ball, attacking the rim whenever they have an advantage, and then they've got David Terrell, they've got Frank Amu. These guys had college coaches in the building there to watch these guys specifically and to play at that level and to have skins on the wall this early in the fall like Allen and Lovejoy to take home those wins. That's a big step in the right direction for that program, and I feel like there's going to be something special in Mansfield Summit this year.
And they also really take me back a few years ago when Coach Pritchett was over at Colleen Shoemaker. When he has his team rolling, he gets those guys to play hard, and in a team that is not real similar to Summit, but reminds me a little bit of the way they play is Plano East. They remind me that, like Summit doesn't just count on one guy to score. They're not counting on David Terrell to go put up 20. They spread the ball out. Same thing with Plano East. Plano East went 2-0 this weekend. They're a team that we've talked about in the past that slowly is getting better and kind of just waiting their turn as of this year. They're going to be very competitive as they were last year. They're just taking the next step. That team plays together. They have great chemistry. They share the ball. They have the ability to hit the three, but also get you in transition. Going to play hard defense. Matt Wester has done a great job. And I think just with his demeanor, just being kind of quiet himself, he's really excited about this group. And I think so am I. It was fun to go see them compete against Denton Geyer, and they came back from 10 down at half against a Geyer team that was hitting shots. Connor Newton hit like 5 or 6 in the first half of threes, and they were able to contain him in the second half and just really go at it, play their game.
Yeah, that was a good mention, Plano East. I was at a game during the COVID season at South Garland when all these kids were freshmen, and Matt was like, hey, we're going to be good. Like, I'm glad you're here because you're seeing the beginnings of something that's going to be really, really good. And they're delivering here. I'm going to go with Colleen Ellison, our preseason number one. I know it's low-hanging fruit, but this team is very, very, very legitimate and very dangerous. We've been talking about how 5A is wide open, but, man, I am not sure you're going to want to see Colleen Ellison. They've got it from every position. They're athletic. They're physical, and they have a leader and a guy who can just get it done in Jamyron Keller. And then giving the ball to a young guy, JoJo McIver, giving him kind of the reins to play a little point guard and put Jamyron off the ball is just another weapon because now you can get creative with what you want Jamyron to do. He doesn't have to be on the ball all the time. So it's just making them more, multifunctional, multidimensional. They have options in their offense, and it's really excited to see Colleen Ellison and what they can do this year.
Yeah, and speaking with to Alberto Jones before the weekend started, he said he didn't know what to expect. You could go 0-2 very easily as they played Highland Park, I believe, in the first game, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they came back and played Duncanville. He was very pleased and excited, but he got to see where they need to clean up. Same thing with Jamyron Keller. Jamyron told me after the game he feels that, yes, that they rose to the occasion to play those two teams, and that he's ready to get back on the court and work and working on those wrinkles.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, some standout performances, and we're just going to go by class here. We have them from every single class. We've put out some content on Twitter, but we got some more guys for you because we're not going to watch just one court. We're going to be around all day long. Who were some of the guys that stood out in the 23 class?
For me, Finley Bizjack. And when we talk about guys in the past couple episodes that are leaving the state, he had some interest, and some schools came after him from different prep schools. And then you see this game we spoke earlier against Dallas Kimball, gets his ankle rolled on, has to leave and go get tape. And in a fall game, you're like, oh, he's probably done. Comes right back in. 10 minutes later, gets his face busted, bleeding all over the place. Gets that cleaned up, goes right back in, plays the second game. That shows you right there, like, why he wanted to stay in Texas. It matters to him playing for Byron Nelson. And that first half against Kimball, he was insane. So one of my must-watch guys this high school season, if you're looking for somebody on a Tuesday or Friday that you want to go catch in the DFW area, that's a good ticket to get. He's must-watch.
It's worth the price of admission.
Oh, for sure.
You're never going to leave disappointed watching a Finley Bizjack game.
And just the toughness, man. Yeah. In September, that's a guy I want to go to war with.
For sure. Another guy for me that had a really standout weekend in terms of what he brought to the table on both ends of the court was Tim Jordan out of Richardson. Richardson lost their dynamic duo from last year, both their high major kids in Kaysen and Ryland. But, they still have got pieces. They have tons of talent, and Tim Jordan's kind of the spearhead because his ability to just go get a tough bucket when the game's on the line, when it really matters, when the going gets tough. They put the ball in this guy's hands, and he is going to go produce at the rim. He's got great footwork inside. He's physical on the drive. He had one of the dunks of the weekend where he just reared back and put it down against Dallas Hillcrest on the drive. And then as a defender, you're not going to move him. He's just one of those guys that you want to have. He's the anchor on that defense, and he's starting to really turn it on the offensive end too.
If I can jump in real quick, Tim Jordan's one of those guys that I don't want to be underneath the basket watching a game. He looks like he could just crush anybody that he wants to. And the only other guy I felt like that about was Cedric Ali, who played at Klein Forest many years ago.
I also want to talk about Richardson's never going to be out tough. Like they have the record for most back alley guys, like the guys that like you want backing you when you're ready for a slugfest.
Yeah.
And I mean,
And I had a really good kicking it courtside with Tim Jordan where we talked about, Rylan and Casey aren't here anymore. What have you learned? How are you ready to lead? And, he gave me some really, really mature answers and I'm glad that you talked about his game on the court because he's working on both on and off the court, and you could see that.
For sure.
I'll step in here with James Cloud out of Prosper, a guy that I saw last April, and he's just so improved. He's physical. He can defend. He plays hard. He can shoot. I don't know. He stood out to me. He just makes plays, and he's always productive in the physicality and toughness. He's 6'4", kind of can play on the wing. He'll do whatever you need for him, and he'll get the job done. I just like those kids.
That's a Jonathan Ellis special there. And I'll wrap it up with Jackson Seal from McKinney. Man, nice long body. Can step out, face up on the perimeter, knock down shots. Doesn't mind going inside, doing a little bit of the dirty work. I think he's still a little raw, and he's starting to improve on some of his flaws. But he's a guy that's going to be looked at here, I would think, pretty quickly. Because he's a guy that can run the court, get on the block, play some defense, and stretch it out a little bit. Really liked what I saw from him this weekend.
Yeah, when you're 6'11", you have the pick and pop footwork, and you can shot fake, put it on the floor, and go score inside. That's something that college coaches are just going to eat up.
He looks like a senior now too. Like he's like kind of just developed physically, and just everything's coming together for him at the right time.
Blue, let's go into 2024s.
Yeah.
And I want you to start with this one because this was a name that we were all intrigued. We've heard a lot of momentum going in with this prospect, and we've been covering him since he was young. Talk about Darquan King.
A couple weeks ago, I did step into the TCU camp that they had, and I was trying to find out who number 24 was that was out there, and then it turns out it was Darquan King. He was a late addition, was productive, was efficient around the basket, knocked down threes, and so a couple weeks later, he's back with Taka, and he's doing the same thing. That's what I'm impressed about, when you can go from one setting to the next, and you're still you're the guy that wants the ball. You want to get the big rebound. You want to hit the big shot. They were playing against Duncanville, had a great test early for them, and King was there in the right places multiple times, whether it was to hit a shot or get a key rebound. I don't think that he's a guy that's just athletically going to wow you, but you have to look at him and see through your evaluation eyes that he gets a lot of done from many different spots on the court.
Yep.
And he's a guy that is starting to grow on me. I will be the first one to admit here. And he was much lower in the rankings. He's starting to climb. He's starting to take that next step, and hopefully that the athleticism will catch up a little bit so he can really go out there and battle against anybody for a second chance, rebound, and so forth.
I'm going to hop in here with Qual Attack. We've talked a lot about him in this office, and it's just hard not to. And I'm just going to kind of go off for a second on why he's so tantalizing. He's a modern-day advantage to coaches. And I evaluate through kind of my coach's lens sometimes, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. But I think with Qual, wherever he goes, he's going to be such a dynamic tool that you can use because – he's going to be able to kind of protect the rim in some instances. He's going to be this like kind of small ball 4-5 on defense, but on offense, those 4-5s are not going to be able to guard him. And that's the insanity of what Qual Attack could do because you can put him with some smaller guys. He can pick and pop. He can pick and roll. If a smaller guy's on him, he's going to post him up and get a bucket anytime he wants. You put a bigger guy on him, he's going to go by him, use his skill to separate. it's coming together. And that was, I tweeted this. The narrative last year was like his special upside, but it's here. I mean, like you watch him and sometimes you may look and say, well, that's a lot of length and it doesn't look like it's going very, very fast. But even if it's not going very fast, he's covering.
Yeah.
The ground he's covering in the length is just insane. So he's just a guy that, the talent is obvious, the length is obvious, and now that he's really stretching out the floor, good luck guarding this matchup nightmare. And that's kind of these coaches, what they're going to be able to do with him. That's why Koala Attack has a chance to be really, really special and unique, just because there's not many guys like him.
That's the uniqueness of him. We were talking earlier, and Sam brought up Rashard Lewis. When you talk about a comp for him, or how are we really going to get through, even through our conversations, of how good can he be? Where do you use him in the college game? And you said it best to me yesterday during our 30-minute conversation about him. Everything starts at the top in the professional ranks, whether it's the NBA or overseas, and then it trickles down into the college game. And I don't think you can circle and pinpoint the position, but you just circle his name and you say, this is how I'm going to utilize him. You, as a college coach, is going to have to put him in the best situation because he's going to do things for you to win.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to just keep going for a second. I think the beauty of Kowal is that he is positionless and is like, when Dirk Nowitzki came in the NBA, and just hear me go for a second, everybody was like, he's not going to make it because he can't compete inside. And Don Nelson was like, no. That would be using Dirk wrong. And that's kind of the way I think of Kowal. It's like, you're not going to use that guy just exclusively inside. There are times to do it. Don't hear me say that. But just like how dynamic you can be in scheming for this guy is just, it's endless. It's endless.
Yep. And speaking of that positionlessness, he's going to be able to play the 4 this year with Halton because they got another 24, Barron Smith on the inside.
Yes.
It's going to be a fun team to watch. They got a lot of length, and they were really productive with what they did this weekend. But I'm going to pick the 2024 interior, the true inside guy that I saw impress me the most this weekend. That's Junior Silo with Spring Creek Academy. Man, when you talk about a physical presence around the paint, this guy has it all. He can score with his back to the basket. He's got a nice soft touch around. He's 6'8", 6'9", looks like he's still growing, still packing on pounds of muscle. And that with that group, when you have Nazar Mahmoud and these other guys getting the ball to him on the inside and creating, like he's just like Tim Jordan was. He's the anchor of that team on the defensive end, and the sky's the limit for this kid because he's that physical and has that nice scoring knack ability right around the basket.
For me, 2024 Jalen Washington of Lake Highlands. And when we talk about, the state deserves to see Trey Johnson in San Antonio in the state tournament, well, it's not necessarily going to be just this storybook just ending. You got to have some dudes to get to San Antonio. And Jalen Washington wants the ball just like Trey Johnson does. And that's going to take a lot of pressure off Trey along with Quentin Perkins. But just seeing Jalen Washington's energy, pushing the pace in transition, hit a big-time shot, buzzer beater to beat Lancaster. He's a gamer. And when things get tight, yeah, Trey Johnson's going to be involved. But you got to have some guys like Jalen Washington on the team that want to go to battle against anybody in the country, in my opinion. And he does it on both sides. He just has that it factor, the intangibles you can't teach. He's starting to grow on me as one of the top 2024 point guard prospects in the state. And without Trey Johnson, Coach Trey Johnson, as you saw on our social media, coaching up them boys, Jalen Washington really showed the state what he can do alongside that very talented Lake Highlands team.
Let's move into our next gen products. We're talking about 25s and 26s. Who are some guys that just kind of blew you away playing in their first, varsity experience?
I'll jump.
Go ahead.
I'll go right here with Denton Geyers 2026.
Yeah.
Their freshman, Silas Rodriguez, 6'2", 6'3". He fits what they do best, and that's the scoring from the perimeter. He goes out there kind of learning his role a little bit. Connor Newton's going to handle the ball when they get Jeremiah Green back out there. He's going to get his points too. But I thought Silas took advantage a lot of took the advantage of just catching and shooting, putting himself in the right positions to make those buckets. And I know that Grant Long, the head coach there, is very excited about him. And he's going to get his chances out there, especially when defenses start keying on the main two.
Yeah, I'm talking about. I've got 3 incoming freshmen that really, if you see an incoming freshman get minutes at the varsity level, it's like, okay, that's some kid to keep an eye on. But when you see them have the keys to the car, as somebody who's been in high school for a month now, maybe. That's really the hallmark of somebody who has not only been an impressive prospect up until this point, but has also won the trust of the coaching staff after a month of being a high schooler. And that's David Coe, and then with right there with him, you have Antoine and Armand Almatar. With those guys, with those 3 at Grapevine High, they're going to be something special. It may not be this year. There's going to be a learning curve. Varsity game moves at a very fast pace compared to what they've been experiencing. But I mean, they're going to take their lumps. They're going to learn from it, and in a year, maybe 2, those 3 guys are going to form the backbone of a really impressive program at Grapevine.
I think they're a group that at Grapevine that we're anticipating once that we're going to get in. We circled them and said we're gonna watch them. We're gonna figure them out because those kids know how to play, and the staff at Grapevine is very excited of what this future team could look like.
Production came instantly.
Yep.
And that's saying a lot about 2026s or freshmen. I'll move in. Mine came through film. I wasn't personally able to make it over to Cedar Hill during the day, but I went back and watched some film. This kid's coming out of Dallas Skyline, Jalen Brown. He transferred from Mesquite Horn. I was actually looking for him to go watch him, and he does it all, man. Dribble, pass, shoot. He can really knock down shots. He has this really pretty high arcing shot. Length, can get by guys. Showed a lot. I cannot wait to go see him in person, but that was just a guy who stuck out to me. You know, when we don't see all these games, sometimes it takes us going back and having to watch film to make sure that we're covering all of our bases.
Oh, we watch film too? Dang, we're everywhere. For me, 2026 Trey Nunn, right away, man. This guy is just physically just there. 6'4", big body. He's going to be a nightmare for Waxahachie, and I already like the way they're using him. Rebounds the heck out of the ball, and guess what? He's pushing it too. So if you put a 4 or 5 out there to guard him, he can ISO at the top of the key. Has a smooth touch from the 3 into the mid-range. He just kind of does it all, and you can put him all over the court. He's going to be a really, really big piece, and as a 2026 entering high school, that he already looks like he's a veteran playing varsity minutes, and he stood out right away for me. And I'll back into my second one. The Colony has something special going on with 2026's Mass. You and I can talk about these 2 guys, Xavier Green and DK Spear. I mean, the one thing I noticed with X was, you know, as a point guard, 2026 is a little different. You have that learning curve, but he's out there, he can get to any spot he wants. You know, obviously he was taking some shots, you know, that a freshman might take, but you see the upside, you see the skill, you see the talent. I mean, I can't wait to see this kid continue to it's just day by day with this kid. He's just picking up knowledge right away. And Mass, talk about what you see in DK Spear.
Yeah, DK Spear, you know, his brother played at Bucknell. Length, man, and DK's skill is just kind of ridiculous for a freshman. He's a shot maker, and both these guys still have some things to learn. Obviously, they're freshmen. But just a quick anecdote from Coach Ryan. He told me, he said, Mass, they're fun to coach. He's like, they get it now. He's like, they set the tone in practice. They do all these things, and they're freshmen. And as special as some guys can be on the court, the off the court, or just like, you know, the intangibles of leading and all that stuff matters, and these guys are already starting to fill that role at the Colony. So really excited time for Coach Ryan and them, and he's made a couple state runs over there. So you never know what can happen. I'll keep it rolling here. Dallas Hillcrest and Linden, I could use your help on this one. I mean, we just kind of salivating over the talent of what they are. You've got Jed Nancha, King Grace, and Mike Williams, who are 25s.
Yep.
And these 3 are like, you're already kind of considering them in the, like, this is going to be the next kind of big deal for 25s in Dallas.
It's all 3 of those guys. You can already start to pigeonhole them at top 5, top 10, top 15 in that 2025 class. Was really good. Had a physical battle against Richardson that I was able to watch, and man, if these three can stay together, that's going to be something special out of Dallas Hillcrest over the next couple of years.
District 11 is going to be awesome. Garland Naaman Forest, Jaden Parker probably won't catch your eye right away during warm-ups. However, this guy is over there 5'8", dropping NBA threes, hollering at his teammates, putting them in positions, getting the ball, breaking pressure, and then I look down and his Jaden Parker, Dominic Parker's son, who his dad is the head coach, and I loved every bit of his game.
Hey, that's going to do it for this GASOcast. Make sure you're following us. We appreciate your time. See you next time.